Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be back with another young Indian, smiling face, part of the Voice of the Young series. We have with us Tanish Nagpal. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Tanish.
So happy to be here. Probably the least qualified guest on the panel, but on the podcast. But yeah, I'm very passionate about people and storytelling in general, right? So bear with me if the story gets a lot long, right? Or the introduction is in a newer format. So I was born in a town called Chandigarh, right? It's called City Beautiful. Son to a purchase head, right? So following the philosophy, monkey see, monkey do. I always wanted to get in business, right? It's very weird that you ask a sixth, seventh grader, right, what you want to become, and they usually say an astronaut or a doctor, right? I would say want to sell tiles or marbles for a living, or I want to own a poultry farm, right? Because those were the people my dad would interact with, or we would go out with such business owners. Uh, or look, yeah. So those were the people I looked up to. I saw were successful people. Those were the people who, who mentored me. So that motivated me to take commerce as my stream in 11th and 12th, right? And when I entered that school of mine, everyone around me wanted to go to Delhi University, right? Again, monkey see, monkey do. So then Delhi University became my goal. But since it was not a dream of mine, I couldn't make it to the top tier universities like SRCC Hindu, right? I landed in a off campus college in Bachelor's of Management Studies, right? All across this time, I would read books, I would see videos on storytelling, philosophy, psychology. So I was always the rebel kind of a kid. So when I got into college, I talked to seniors of mine. They were like, there are no companies. There are like, you are better. Like you're worth nothing here, right? You will just pass out, be unemployed, right? So as a person, I couldn't take that for an answer, right? That there are no opportunities, because I knew that there is business everywhere in this country. This is a land of opportunities. So what started as a passion for working, maybe as a social media guy for small newspapers or small magazines, to a proper founder's office role across various industries like Edtech, Matrimony, right? And it was very fascinating for me as a first year student. I'm talking to country heads of services. I'm writing a sales script that is used by 200 salespeople, right? So that taught me, or I was lucky enough that people took bet on me. I got to learn stuff. I got to learn that I'm capable of doing stuff. So that prompted me to even like make my juniors aware that the world is open for you. Don't take no for an answer, right? And maybe the how big of a information asymmetry is there, that kids take no for an answer. So just wanted to come on here and talk about how non-conventional roles are opening up in the industry, like, yeah.
Wonderful. It's a strong and optimistic philosophy.
Yeah.
And how is it for you so far?
It's been great, right? It's been 1.5 years working. I still feel that, I'm not a genius. I have been lucky enough, right? Thanks to all the people that took a bet on me. So I have always been of the philosophy that the more shots you take, the better the probability, right? So the more, at the end of the day, I have to convince you that I will not betray you. I will be loyal to the company, right? And everything can be taught, right? So I'm of the philosophy that everything is figure outable.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
serious. I mean, look, most of us can't get to hard things like physics and all, but you think that's also figure outable?
Yeah, matlab, apart from rocket science, if you tell me that I have to sell a product to some guy in US, I would figure out that how I need to pitch him. But yeah, rocket science is something that's off the table. But apart from that, everything is figure outable.
Okay,
And
so tell us what you have figured out.
I have figured out people, like how to convince people to trust in me, right?
Okay.
Uh, for example, I believe it's part 50% trust, part 50% you're doing, right? For example, I even uh, I'm very bad at content writing, but I convinced people to, give me an opportunity of reading my own comics. I never thought that I could build a distribution for my content, right? I figured out how to make a distribution. So I figured out that, Twitter and all these platforms are so content heavy, but LinkedIn in during those days was still a nascent platform. I think this is back in 2021. So I figured out that where is the least friction to readers, right? So on those days, LinkedIn, the content was not so good. So I would make comics. I would spend time, read VC articles, VC videos for 1 hour, convert into a comic, and figure out a way to build distribution for my content. And that enabled me to talk to people 20 years senior in the industry.
Wow, that is something that. So, how did you make these comics? Is it on your laptop, or what did you do?
Yeah, laptop, right? So when I say comic, usually people ask me how did you draw them, right? So I figured out a way that there's a tool for that also to generate that. Like before ChatGPT, there would be like stick figures, right?
Yeah.
So like a modern kind of a stick figure that I would just change. There will be a face and 10 expressions. So I would just change expressions per slide or slightly change the hand movements and figure out a way to making a comic, right? I never used Figma before, but that also I figured out. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and how do your parents and all react to this crazy idea that you can figure anything out and you're going to make it? How do they feel about it?
I think it's very new to them, right? So I'm a first generation grad, right? So
Oh, tell
me,
us about the bit. Tell us about that.
the first generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like a long story, my great grandfather was a doctor, then partition happened, right? So my family came into farming. So
So,
when
where was your great grandfather? Which part? Which,
I
do you know which city he was in?
I think he was from Multan or
Yeah. Okay. And
Multan part.
yeah, I know what is Multan. Go ahead. It's a
Yeah, so I even know Multani. That's a very uh,
wow.
yeah. Like when I meet them, there's certain energy that I can mimic his tone or mimic his dialect, right?
Yeah.
So so I also believe that there's a once in a generation opportunity, right? For example, if I make it to a US university, it will be a once in a generation change, right? The
Yeah.
world my kids will see will be very different from what I saw. So my dad also was a one in a generation opportunity, like from at that age, right? Moving from a village to a city for a job was a big thing, right? Because there was no LinkedIn, there was no articles, right? I can like by tomorrow morning I can learn legal laws because there are so many books. Everything is one click away. So he took once in a generation bet, and I also took once in a generation bet by reaching out to people. Is there a voice disturbance?
No,
Oh, okay.
continue.
So, my parents find it very weird, right? At that time, jobs would just pay you enough to survive. There were no luxuries, right? So my internship would fly me out to Bali. My office would fly me out to Dubai, and they will be very surprised that you're just a kid, right? They don't like they won't even expect me to make money, and I'm taking all these international trips. So they were very shocked, but I think the major thing being they never said no to anything. So funda being that if I want to do something, I would figure out a way, right? You can handhold someone to a certain extent. So I'm of the belief that if you want it bad enough, you will figure out a way. Like at the end of the day, you will figure out something by hook or crook. You will get it what you need.
Yeah, good. It's a very powerful philosophy, and
Yeah.
it has taken. So, when you graduated, how did you didn't have campus placements, right?
No.
Yeah.
Uh, that the stipend that I was drawing was like equal to the campus placement salary that I would get, right? So that also during campus placement, I reached out to people who I talked to 2 years before, right? Maybe through a similar setting, through a coffee chat, and say that are there any roles where I can help? So at the end, I ended up at a FMCG company called Mamaearth. So there also, it was a very unique role. So the founder was of the understanding that I also learned this from scratch, right? The founder is a painter, right? And she figured out how to set up distribution. So our role was to learn a new industry every 6 months. For the first 6 months, I did supply chain. For the next 6 months, I did retail. So more and more people are betting on the younger generation is what I feel, and it's to our advantage only.
Yeah, I agree with you fully. That's why we have this channel.
Yeah, like
Because of my faith in the younger generation. I say, what? Let's so continue, please, Tanish.
yeah, I wanted to make a point. Right. I also felt that there was very information asymmetry during those days also. Like even I was aware that what needs to done. For example, I'm also a believer of a snowball effect, right? So if you go to a system or an institute who's very well placed, who has a history of 100 years, right? Your life will be easier. Your classmates will inspire you, your seniors will inspire you. For example, if I have to go interview at a company, these big colleges will have a portal which will show you that for the past 10 years they have asked similar questions to these, right? So when I would go and interview, I would ask these friends that, hey, I'm interviewing at this place, can you just download the PDF and send it to me, right? So seeing that gap, I always motivated myself and seeing my juniors to like make the internet your college, right? Talk to people on talk to people on Twitter, talk to people on YouTube. There are different entrepreneurs who like there's a Y Combinator of US. They have a 10-20 hour video series on how to start up, right? And Google heads,
Hmm.
CEOs are coming there giving lectures. That kind of people I would like, my dad would even not know, right? I would have so when I see interviews of people who like 10-20 years senior to me, they say that when we were sitting for these competitive exams, we didn't even know what the structure was, right?
Yes,
What previous year questions were. Just went and we
yes,
figured out.
yes.
So it's very fascinating, right? So even let's say I make it to US college, right? I can talk to people. I have talked to INSEAD people. I have know what kind of courses they teach. Everything is accessible. So I'm so fascinated, even by the older generation also, that how did they manage to do all that they did, even without books, right? And I know it will feel very weird, but being 22 only, the younger generation that is coming after me is to a next level, right? Like
Yeah,
what like someone who's 26 would feel seeing me, I feel seeing a 18-year-old, right? I
yeah.
have a 18-year-old brother who does design, who does web development. He does teaching to you students in the US, right? And all I knew when I was 16 was go to school, you get homework, do homework and play cricket, right? It's very fascinating to see the energy the younger generation has.
Continue, please.
Oh yeah, continue. So I also like being motivated by this. I also started a initiative, very local initiative in my college. I started a consulting society, right? So the same snowball effect. So I would have developed a pitch, right, of my past projects. So I would call entrepreneurs up and tell them that,
I have to put you on pause for a second. Okay. So we are
yeah.
out of the pause, and Tanish will continue.
Yeah, so I think I usually repeat a lot of things. So repeating the principle of the snowball effect, right?
Yeah.
Since I started that building that snowball and I had proof of work, right? I had launched a category at an internship. So what I would do is I first of all collected a team of fellow juniors, fellow teammates who were passionate about working in startups. So I would call startups, pitch the CEO, right? That any new market that you want to enter into, give us the opportunity. I'll make a report for you. I have done this in my previous internship. We'll do data analysis, we'll do market research for you also. So what you get is 100 man hours and what we get is exposure, right? So convincing a CEO to give to outsource a project is very hard because if you don't have proof of work. So I had proof of work, so that enabled my juniors to get work, right? So now, since my juniors had proof of work, doing these live projects in first years, it was easier for them to crack internships in their second year, right? And now I see them cracking full-time corporate roles in consulting in BCG, McKinsey, right? And now I know that 4 or 5 years down the line, even my super juniors would have even easier, right? So there's one person who has to take a step and make it easier for the people who follow. I am of that belief, right? So my dad did that for me by coming to the city. I did that for my juniors by getting them live projects, right? And essentially, my bosses also do that for me also, right? Like I lead legal projects also within my organization. I never studied law a day, right? But you would be so fascinated. You just copy a paragraph, send it to ChatGPT, and it will explain it to you in such a beautiful manner. No difficult words, no legal jargon, right? So the technology these days is super amazing, right? I'm very bullish about technology. I'm very, like, the company I work in, I've not mentioned, I work in a health tech startup called as Ultra Human. So we make smart rings. So how we like to talk about ourselves is, we are an Indian company, but we make a global product, right? So 98% of our sales is from US, Europe, right? So I'm also of the belief that if we can outsource IT to the world, why not outsource design? Why not outsource music? Why not outsource business services, right? At a larger level, the MNC consultants do get US projects, right? But I feel that a Indian made Sipper or a Indian made software also has the capability of selling across markets. The design, the aesthetics are very nice in Indian consumers also. You're on mute.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Anish. That's wonderful to hear that you think you can conquer the world. And if you
Yeah,
think that, chances are you will.
but I think that's out of force, right? There's so many of us. Like, there's so many of us Indians that it doesn't make sense to compete ourselves, right? Any competitive exam you see, you have 0.11% probability of getting in, right? So why fight amongst ourselves, right? If a designer is designing a t-shirt, why not sell it to 100 countries? So
Yeah,
I'm of that belief that maybe
yeah.
this decade or this century is for Indians,
Mm,
especially young Indians. Uh,
okay. Wonderful. That is actually uh, my message to young people also these days. Think big,
yeah,
think big, aim high,
yeah.
right? Aim
But
high.
if I'm allowed to ask a
Yeah,
follow-up
please.
question, right?
Yes.
My whole journey started, I want to be something, right? Now
Yeah.
I am something. So
Yeah.
think big, right? How does one figure out how big one has to be?
Well, okay. How does one think how big one has to be? Depends actually on a couple of things. Okay. One is definitely your work-life balance. Okay. Where do you place your emphasis?
Okay.
You want, because there will come a time at which thinking bigger and bigger will impinge on personal life. Okay. You
Yeah.
can do it when you are young and single, but things change. Okay. Things
Yeah.
change. Right. So that is, I think, the first thing to think about. And in fact, uh, there is no other constraint. It's the only constraint. The rest is your imagination, your aspiration, and your assessment of yourself. So look, if it looks like you will be, I mean, the big is what you think you will boast about to your people. Okay, that's big.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
just say, listen, it's like saying, okay, I want to hit a six. Okay, that's big. You understand cricket, So you want to score a single or 2 runs or even a four. That's not big. You want to hit a six. Okay,
Okay.
and you hit a couple of sixes, then you are okay.
Yeah.
You can cruise after that, but you really need to because of all the things that you mentioned, the resources, the availability, and the global world that faces you, our options are there, which were not there. And your brother is teaching people in the US. So it's all global for you. So
Yeah.
why not aim global? Yeah, aim global. But
Def-
I would add that all this facilities, resources, options, these are not your doing. They are available to you. Right? Somebody made that happen.
Yeah.
Right? And so don't say I did it. Okay. You say I did it because these things were there for me and I can go ahead and take full advantage of these. And what that means is that everybody should be aware that there are a lot of people in India who don't have the same options.
Yeah.
Right? We need to keep them in our minds. Like you are providing options for your juniors, you should also be thinking, and maybe you don't do it yourself, don't, but you can fund people who are doing it. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're too busy doing your own thing, that's fine. And, there's not an issue. Your parents did the sacrifice, your grandparents did the sacrifice so that you don't have to. But there are young people I meet every time who say, listen, I'm going to get this done for these young kids in this place and that place. Fund them, give them some money. That's why
Yeah.
I ask even young people to donate some money to an NGO so that they get in the habit. Instead of only saying the government should do it, government will do it, but government, we are still lagging behind for the younger generation outside the big cities. So why don't you agree to your own mind that I'll give some money to those of my age or a
Yeah.
little better than me who are looking to get something done, who are sacrificing a bit. So
Yes.
you don't have to pay them, but they can be doing this. Okay, so that's what I think is big. Big is aim globally, but don't forget the local poor.
Yeah, completely makes sense. Like even I also have this one idea that I want to work on, but unfortunately, we are like I feel I'm very young that I need to focus on inwards than outwards for at least 2 3 years. But I believe that there are certain type of people that who are very like it's very hard for them to make ends meet to secure the next meal, right? So I feel that there's a lot of stuff to be done on those vertical, but what I feel I can provide value to in maybe if initiative of my own is someone who's educated but who's not aware of this information asymmetry, right? Maybe going to government colleges, right? They know what debit credit is, they know what marginal utility of demand supply is, but they're not aware what kind of jobs they want to
Mm,
target, right?
mm,
So I think by going one tier down there can be what we call asymmetrical bets, right? So if I
mm.
invest 1 hour to them, they can have more returns.
Yeah,
That's definitely so a very personal problem across all my friends is we grew up in a good family, right? So we had all the material benefits, right? So maybe if I was like get those, I didn't get an iPhone through my dad, a iPhone would mean a lot via my salary, right? But I have everything material that I can imagine of. So I see across all my friends also that they have a urge to do something for the world because, right, you can buy so many t-shirts or you can buy so many sneakers, right? So they say that, a increment doesn't mean something to me figuratively, it's the amount of the money, right? So they like I do see a lot of conversations happening, but yeah, taking initiative does feel a lot hard at my age, what I feel. But I do see a lot of conversations happening across my friend circle that maybe a 10,000 rupee money is equal to a maybe a concert ticket, but to that 10,000 may become someone's semester fees. uh, you're on mute.
yeah. Okay, I will discuss with you offline two options for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue.
Okay. Apart from that, I believe also there's the industry that I work in, right? It's a role called founder's office role. So the whole idea being, for example, right, you are a professor and you say that I want to open a NGO in India, or I want to do guest lectures, right? So you won't know anything about guest lectures in India. So what I'll do is I'll reach out to people on your behalf, right? For example, if it's a t-shirt brand and they say that we also want to sell sneakers, so I would read up the type of the quality of sneakers that are produced, the factories that make them. So it's a very 0 to 1 role, right? A term that's very used a lot is beginner's mindset, right? The ability that I have is that I know nothing, right? Maybe if when I'm writing a sales script, someone who's been in sales in 10 years, they'll use the same terminology, they'll use the same click through rates, right? The same lingo. But as a kid, I would use new words because I know nothing about that industry, right? So I think more and more people should own it up as their skill rather than a con, right? That they don't know something. Yeah, and other than that, the major skill that I'm very bullish upon is you should be teachable. You should be adaptable to the industry, right? Yeah, that's I think that's all about what I think about young people.
Okay, it's very, very impressive, Tanish. Anything else you want to add here?
Uh, no, I'll ask another question to you,
Yeah,
right?
you said you'd ask some questions, so go ahead.
Yeah, so how do I like so across all my peers also, since we have so much information, right? We know what works. We know what will give us returns, right? So life feels like we are optimizing for something, right? Maybe it's a factory floor that we are optimizing for production, and in our lives we are optimizing for returns, or we are optimizing for job opportunities, right? So how does one make a balance of these optimization and what one actually wants to do from their heart?
Well, I think it's, as I said, uh, the optimization could be in two ways. You know, the balance can be achieved in two ways. One is to not just mindlessly take on any project. Okay.
Got
Because it gives the highest profit. I mean, I'm not against profit, okay. But you can say, listen, this thing has profit and it also has some impact on some people. Okay, so that's what people call social enterprise. But I think you're too young to care to do that. I think right now, you and your friends should concentrate on, let's put it bluntly, making money. Make
Yeah,
money, get
yeah,
experience, right? Get your experience, make money. And then the only option is, as I said before, is to have a side business of either participating once in a while in some impact project or just giving them money, assess the various projects. There are so many in India, so many being undertaken by young people your age. There's one woman who's got a project Kabil. Kabil is Urdu, I think you may know Kabil.
yeah,
Able. So she's teaching slum children. She wants to expand, and there are some others focused on menstrual hygiene for young girls. And there are all sorts of young people who are doing so many different things. And you can support them financially,
yeah,
or perhaps even say, okay, I can give you uh, some ideas, or 3 or 4 hours a week I can give you. And there are many, many options available in India today on that side. So better you just do that as a side business. And see, it's disproportionate. Maybe 15% of the people are fully committed to this. The 80 rest of the 85%, even if they put 10% of their time, that's 8.5%, right?
yeah,
That balances out, right?
yeah, that
So you don't need to be full time. Actually, it's not going to work if you're going to be full time. But right now, you are still uh, to prove to yourself what you can do that and make money. It's no problem. India should make money and give to those whom, and find the channels. so that you can help those, and there are plenty of opportunities. And I can also give some, but anyway, you can find through your own circuit. Okay, so that's what I would say.
Got it. Yeah, pretty understood. Yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah, very clear. I think that.
Yeah, okay, fine. All right, good.
I think
Okay.
that.
So it's a great pleasure to listen to you and to understand how young people in India are so optimistic, and also to understand the reason why you are optimistic and so productive, because things have been created for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, things that were created long ago, as your parents have rightly told you. I mean, I can tell you, when I was a young college student, we didn't even have a pen that didn't leak. You had to have one pen which would not leak in the exam hall. So things were different. But why should we think like that today? We don't need to think like that. We need to be global, and we need to go out and get it done, and not forget our home.
Yeah.
Because if we forget the home country, then there'll be a lot of people left behind.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Anything else you want to add here?
No, I think the second question I asked in the middle, right? So that's a challenge that I'm facing. That the pro being that there's no top line, but the
No.
con is also that there's no top line, right? I don't know how many sixes to hit. I can hit a century. I can hit a double century.
Just keep hitting. Just keep hitting.
Yeah, I think I'll just keep hitting, but sometimes it does. Like the goal of hitting a double century does get overwhelming, but maybe I'll stay on the pitch as long as I can. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody does that. And also, as you age and evolve, your views and goals will change. But right now, I think is the time to achieve according to the norm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Got
just
it.
achieve according to the norm. Okay. All right, good. Let's end it here today. Tanish, you have to send me a photograph and your write-up, but
Yeah.
let's end the recording. Okay.
Okay. I do have it ready.
Okay.
I
All
like.
right. I want to talk to you offline. Okay. So,
Okay.
all right. So, thank you, Tanish. I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. Bye till then, everybody.